Okay guys, hey there, it's Jet888 here. It is April 29th and we're taking a beautiful day here and they're spraying the crap out of the skies. And for those who don't believe in the spraying, I don't know, these are not just clouds, but I'm not even going to get into that. But it's just a start and just shows that they're always manipulating and fooling, I should use the word fooling, with nature, and it's at our expense. And I'm going to go inside and continue from my conversation I had yesterday that I wasn't finished with, but I ran out of camera space, so I'm going to continue it here today. So I'm going to head inside. Oh, one more thought too. I mean, where is the EPA on this? Why aren't they saying anything? And does the DA or the sheriff, do they realize that we're being systematically poisoned? I mean, does that not stand or count for anything? I wonder. So reach out to them, you guys, and ask them to open their eyes. Okay, back inside. Okay, so here's just a little example of how they sort of infiltrate your world. This is I have a Microsoft, what is it? Just, Windows. I guess you'd call it an operating system here. It says there are towers here and horns as well, and in between are some fairly typical rugged mountains. So mountains are a huge thing for them. If you see like Paramount, and you'll see a mountain symbolism a lot. And when I look at the word mountaineer, it's enumerator, or is it enumeration? I can't remember. It's one of those. Either way, it's about counting and keeping track of everything, because they're so anal retentive, they have to keep track of everything. But you got the word here, there are towers and horns. Yeah, they love their horns symbolism. So okay, so as I go in on my computer, here's the same mountains. If I highlight it, it's 10 national parks that are UNESCO sites. And again, yesterday, and I don't know where I'm going to put yesterday before or after in this video when I put it together, but I mentioned the rainbows. And here you have them sneaking in the little rainbow symbolism. Anywhere they can get their little hooks in, they commandeer and just waste or infiltrate everything. Everything that's we look at as cool or good, they ruin it for everybody. But it's just social engineering. If you look at this, look at beyond the rainbow, see that fence? See how we're like, I mean, if you just subconsciously look at that, you're being fenced in. There's some little corral going on in the background there. So is that a pipeline? No. Is it a corral? Who knows? But it's something that would look like you're being lassoed into them and forced to look at their rainbows. So yesterday I was sharing some information regarding Mayday and how, again, like they've taken what was supposedly like the workers' holiday, not a holiday, but just a day for the workers to kind of stand up for themselves and be able to pick whatever unions they wanted or whatever. It was just for the workers. And then they totally took over that day and they made it more of like an emergency thing. The Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. So yesterday I was showing a document that I found on archive.org, and it was called Gray Rabbit's Mayday. Just out of curiosity, I looked at it on Gematria, and I came up with, there's your 444 again, which I mentioned yesterday. It's Jewish. The Truman Show, Klaus Martin Schwab, contaminated vaccines, the shelves are cleared, and this world needs to go. It's also supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. But when I looked at, there was one other word that came up, and it was I don't even know how to say it, microchateaux rapi, and I looked at the anagram for that. So the anagram for that, the microchateaux rapi, is microchip star po. It's called po. That's a French word. I look at it and it looks like pew, but microchip star po. And guess what the po means? So here it's French. but it means, translated, po is skin or hide. So I thought that was sort of interesting. Gray Rabbit's Mayday ends up being microchip star po. So a star, it could be czar or rats, whoever, you know, whatever you want to look at the word star, but it's like hide and skin. And so I don't know, I just thought that was sort of an interesting find. And also when I looked at the words May 1st, you've got the 666 and 111 there, but 716. And May 1st in gematria was Ray's gangs. I mentioned that yesterday. It's the Jab, Master Eye, God of Zion. And when I looked at God of Zion, when you look at the word Zion, it's also in Oz. And here it says, though Zion is a place name in the Hebrew Bible used as a synonym for Jerusalem, as well as for the land of Israel as a whole. Remember who made the capital of Israel, Jerusalem? That's right, Trump did that. And it talks about the name being found in Samuel, books of Hebrew Bible dated. Let's see, I'm going to skip down. It originally referred to a specific hill in Jerusalem, located in the south of Mount Moriah. So here we've got the hill or the mountains. Remember what I saw popped up on my Microsoft Windows with the mountains? So the ancient Hebrew word Zion, spelled T-S-I-Y-O-N, Zion, because that's how it sounds, is a Canaanite hill fortress in Jerusalem, captured by David and called in the Bible City of David, according to pathos.com. They love their mythology stuff. Zion also means mountain, which is another term for governments or nations. And here is the anagram for mountaineer. It's enumeration. And that's them, you know, they have to get their data. They have to just track everybody. They're so anal retentive. And here, the word operating system and the son of David, it's the same numerology, the 1067 there, that's the same Jewish gematria numerology, operating system and the son of David. And I found it funny too, because the word transgender bioweapon, and I just put operating systems under that because I was just kind of noting that maybe that's what that is too. Because if everyone's transgender, that's not very sustainable, is it? And they're always talking about sustainable, be sustainable, but if you put transgenders all on an island, that's not sustainable, is it? Bunch of hypocrites. So when I looked up the word Zion, where is this? I think it's Wikipedia. This is the picture that they gave for Zion. You've got the sunset or sunrise. You always have the sun in there. You've got the towers, which that picture showed when I first came on to the windows. They talked about towers, and you've got this winding road. So it made me kind of wonder and look at remember the long and winding road, that song? There you got your mountains in the background with another tower, but here's the long and winding road. And when I looked at that, it's 1419 and 218. It goes with the where we go one, we go all, Operation Sunrise, and Scare Event Upon Us. I wonder what that's been the last couple years, and A World of Influence. It's so weird. One little paragraph that's in this Gray Rabbit's Mayday, I'm going to read it to you, and I'm going to show you a picture that I feel it's interesting that can kind of go with it. So I'm just going to hold the camera up to this picture and let you watch or look at this while I read. It says, so that is why you were so late, sighed Gray Rabbit. I'm in the middle of the story here, so it might be out of context, but so that is why you were so late, sighed Gray Rabbit. Could we have a maypole, Gray Rabbit? Asked Squirrel. I want to dance around it, and I'm afraid to go to the village. We'll dance around the May tree, and that's better than a maypole, said Gray Rabbit. There's a lovely May tree in the field with blossoms coming out already. Isn't that kind of weird? Anyhow, don't go by the maypole. And isn't that kind of funny how the word maypole is like a employee. It's a employee. I mean, it's kind of a different spelling, but employ, like the workers' Mayday. So there's your definition of employ: to provide work for pay, to engage the attention or activity of, that's occupy, or to put something to use or service, employ. So yesterday I was reading part of this little Mayday Rabbit's Gray book, whatever, and it talks about on Mayday make a crown of flowers and a scepter and cowslip balls. And these are cowslips, just so no one, I mean, you guys know the plants, but look at this, cowslip, plant lore. We made balls of cowslip flowers by cutting off their heads. Let's see, and tying them together with wool so that the end of their stems were in the center. Anyhow, they want to cut off their heads. That's just, I just find that kind of interesting. Isn't it kind of strange too that Alice's adventures dealt with crowns and cutting off someone's head, off with her head? Remember the Queen? Okay, that's just a quick comment. Remember that one? Off with her head. And regarding the scepter, it's funny how these things are coming up recently. April 9th, 2023. The crown jewels known as the scepter and the orb have an ancient history and a powerful meaning for the monarchy. So yesterday I started off with showing the HR 2501 regarding Spectrum Coordination Act 117 that was introduced on 4/14. And the numerology for Mayday is also 4/14. Oh yeah, and before I get too far away from the whole Alice in Wonderland thing, regarding the Mad Hatter, so first I looked at the word hats, and here's the numerology for hats. And then when I look at what it's equal to, it's ITS, or that's ITs, like the information technology, birth, evil, blood, and sun. And when I looked at Mad Hatter specifically, it was mirror and prison. And notice how prison, their 91 is their last, that's simple gematria. And when you look at 91, you flip it around, because they flip everything around. It's 19, and 19 is AI, because 1 is A and 9 is I. Yesterday I also mentioned 222, and that's hidden codes, Holy Bible, and Elon Musk. It's funny, that's a mask, it's a play on his name. It's also Golden Gate, the Magician, and Alice is Life. And what's that? AI Cell. There it is. And isn't that kind of strange? Alice's Life can be I. AI Cell Fees, F-E-I-S. Looking at the Department of Agriculture, that's .gov, about FIES facilitates use of research as a basis for sound management. The Fire Effects Information System is an online collection reviews of the scientific. Let's go to that page. Here I'm there. So the Fire Effects Information System is an online collection of reviews of the scientific literature about fire effects on plants and animals, and about fire regimes. What's that word? Regimes of plant communities in the United States. I wonder, like, they want to find out how fire affects things. Yeah, it probably burns them. Anyhow, here it goes. Species reviews include information on plant, lichen, and wildlife species, life history, ecology, and relationships to fire. Fire studies. They're so into their fire. Sounds like a ritual. Looks like we're going back to that enumeration thing where they have to list everything. So when I was bringing up Mayday, and the number is 69 and 414 for both English and simple gematria. 69, you flip that upside down, you get Sprint, which is 96, and Sprint is merging with T-Mobile, and as of, well, May 1st, that's why the Mayday is, that's why I'm talking about Mayday, is because they're going to be making everyone flip or switch over to their SIM cards, which are going to be 5G compatible. So they're going to be able to flip on that switch. And I wanted to tell you about that conversation I had with both Sprint and AT&T day before yesterday. So Sprint also is compatible at $379 with the word internet. Internet. It's also Triton. It's also 16. You flip that upside down and around, you got 19, like your COVID-19 thing or your AI. But Sprint at 96 is also Prince at 96. And what are prints? They're copies, aren't they? And the word copy at 354 and 59 is slave. And copy in Jewish gematria is 513. And 513 is frequencies. Look at that, it's also goofy. Hey Disney, so frequencies. And copies over at 217 is shocking. It's also biointech. And prints are copies. If you take a print or a copy of something, you have a clone, which is also death. So it's interesting that clones is also equivalent to Book of Life, and there's your 96. And in Revelations 20:15, it declares, if anyone's name was not found written in the Book of Life, he was thrown into the lake of fire. We saw what they do with fire. The Book of Life in this context is the set of names in those who will live with God forever in heaven. It is the roll of these who are saved. This Book of Life is also mentioned in Revelations 3:5, 2012, and the Philippians 4:3. The same book is also called the Lamb's Book of Life, because it contains the names of those who have been redeemed by the blood of Lord Jesus. Isn't that, so you got the Book of Life, which also here is 96, which Sprint is also 96. And isn't that cute? The Book of Life, there's a 2014 film based on original idea by Gutierrez. The story follows a bullfighter who there's your horns that they always like, they need to have horns, who on the Day of the Dead embarks on an afterlife adventure to fulfill the expectations of his family and friends. Your lifetime adventure, an afterlife adventure to fulfill the expectations of his families and friends. Isn't that strange? So in this plot, you've got Day of the Dead, you've got, which is La Muerta, you've got pigs, which could be ham. Remember also that special, or that great pig on Charlotte's Web, that's some pig. You got a bullfighter, so you got the horns. Of course, you've got a snake. You've got coma and death. You've got castles. You've got someone being bit by a snake once and surviving, but someone who was bitten twice died. You've got a candle maker. Remember the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker? You've got a resurrection there, You've got someone who destructs themselves. Anyhow, great children's film. You got the little fire flames up there. You got the skulls, your heart, your one-eyed figures. You've got your little 111s there. And Disney's going to get on it too. So the Book of Life coming soon to Disney. And interesting, the Book of Life removed from Disney as of January 1st, 2023. So here's an illustration. I just think it's interesting. You got your hat right here. You got your one eye bigger than the other. You got your little twirly pedophile symbols. You've got all this little debris floating around, like you'd see something in a bloodstream or something. All that little debris. It looks like little particles you get in the air after you get sprayed. So this is, sorry it took me so long to get to this, but so T-Mobile, Sprint is now merging into T-Mobile, and they are requiring as of May 1st, that's Mayday, that all the customers put in their phones, what is it called? a SIM card. Looking at SIM card in Hebrew gematria, it's shocking, biointech, satanic, reset, and iPhone, and Wuhan. And if they don't, their phones probably won't work. Or I was told that I wasn't going to even get service. But there's that number right there. I called up, and the conversation I had, let's see, I got hung up on, here's a more interesting picture, I guess. I got hung up on about 6 times between talking to AT&T and Sprint. But my last conversation with the Sprint, the lady I was talking to, and I got hung up on by a supervisor as well, regarding the contracts. One of the ladies at AT&T, she told me that she didn't believe that the 5G frequency was dangerous. And I just reminded her that her belief isn't what matters, it's what the facts are. And after not being able to get anywhere with her, because I was talking about the contract, and I asked her, because I had to upgrade, I asked her to tell me what an upgrade entailed. And she said I had to get the SIM card. And I said, well, what does that SIM card do? And she said that it makes it so you're 5G compatible. And then I asked her if she knew about the frequencies about 5G. She didn't, so I asked to talk to her supervisor. And when I talked to the supervisor, the second that I asked him, he goes, well, we sent out notices. We sent out lots of notices. And I said, well, when you sent out those notices, did you give your customers informed consent? Like, were they giving informed consent? Did they know what these 5G frequencies would do to them? And he hung up on me. So I reconnected with him, and he also stated, after I asked him if where I can go find their safety studies, because I'm sure they had some safety studies done if they're insisting that their customers connect to a 5G frequency. And again, I got hung up on, reconnected, and the one girl, she told me, the first girl I talked to at AT&T, she said that I can Google the safety studies. And I said, no, I'm interested specifically in AT&T's safety studies. So we went around and around and around. Then I actually called Sprint. Oh, and I also reminded them that these frequencies, they were basically, they're microwave frequencies. So speaking to Sprint about the May 1st deadline to switch over the SIM card to a 5G capable frequency, look at that. It's also in Kansas. Isn't that interesting? Because remember, regarding Kansas, remember what happened in Kansas with Dorothy, the Wizard of Oz, and Zion is in Oz? So it's kind of funny that Sprint's headquarters are in Kansas. And they're also, these telecommunication companies are also they're connected with electric companies. That's like GE. Remember, bring good things to life? It used to be bring good things to light, I think, but now it's life, or vice versa. But just to jump to the very end of my conversation with the woman at Sprint, I asked her if Sprint was contracting with the Department of Defense or with the military, and she said, I don't know about that, but let me come back. I'll go talk to a technician or an engineer. And I sat on the phone for 15 minutes, and she came back. She's actually trying to be helpful. She came back and she said, well, they're not contracted directly with the Department of Defense or the military. And I said, oh, not directly? And she goes, well, they have to get their permit from the military before they can erect these cell towers. That's what she told me, and that I can FOIA that. So I have proof of that conversation, and that took place on the 27th of was it April? But isn't that interesting too, that early years, it says Sprint Corporation traces its origins to 2 companies, the Brown Telephone Company and Southern. Pacific Railroad. So the railroads, the electric companies, and the communication companies are all working together. They're all in it together. And look at that, in 1911, you take one of those, there's your 19, but you can look at that also as seeing 9/11. But knowing what we know now about the Department of Defense and this needlecraft operation that just happened the last 3+ years, if we don't think that the military is in on this, and these are their microwave weapons, their, what's it called, just their energy weapons that are going to be used against us, and you've got them, you're holding them in your hand. Your personal communications service. Let's go look at that. I've never looked at PCS. Let's go look and see what that, if that can lead us anywhere. Oh, look at that. So it's Washington Area Network. Eventually Sprint launched its new nationwide CDMA network. Then in 1999, there's all your nines, they were decommissioned. But you guys can go look at this if you want. It's really easy to find this information. Isn't that funny? When I look at Gematria to see what PCS could lead us to, here's the ad that goes on it. EF. That could be electrical frequencies, and look at the signs there. EF. Go ahead tours. Travel is calling. It's time to go. And you can book today for $99 down. So there's your numerology. I'm just looking at the things that interest me. Begins. There's labor as in employ, as in Mayday is for the workers. The life. Hellfire. That kind of reminds me of the Book of Life. That looks like a hellfire. 228 and 38, it's also fire, Kabbalah. Death and gold is the symbol in the English gematria. And regarding PCS, Personal Communications Service, when I look down here, it says a personal communication service is a set of communication capabilities that provide a combination of terminal mobility, personal mobility, and service profile management. This class of services comprises several types of wireless voice or wireless data communication system, typically incorporating digital technology. So it says that Sprint was the first company to build and operate a PCS network. So where is the safety studies, I wonder? That's when I got hung up on by that supervisor. His name was Anthony. I got hung up on when I asked for the safety studies, or if they were informing people of what they're exposing themselves to. So I just think it's interesting that Mayday is 69 and Sprint is 96. So what's up is down. And isn't that funny? When I look up Personal Communications Service is 1893, and 1893 is also rainbow currency. Oh, that's interesting too, because 1893 is also directed energy weapons. Does that look like a directed energy weapon? It can be turned into one. And remember the numerology of May 1st? It's exactly the same as Ray's gangs. So I just find it interesting because sometimes I know I look at the numerology and the anagrams and stuff like that, and people just poo-poo it, but sometimes it takes you to exactly what's happening today. And nothing changes, because in this document, what they're stating in 1934, it's exactly the same things that are happening today. You know, I started yesterday's video showing this Mayday. I don't know if that's an anarchy or a Mason symbol. I don't know. I'm not sure on that. But Strangers, the Manic Mayday, and I followed that to being this guy, the Trent Reznor. And interestingly, I'm just scrolling over here really quickly. He just, I think 2 weeks after his mother passed away, he was at the Golden Globe Awards. This was back in, when was it, this year, a long time ago, 2011. But his mother passed away, I think it was on on January 2nd that his mother passed away, and then he's getting Golden Globe Awards in Beverly Hills. And when I was looking at his anagram for his name, or incremental hertz, or RR Telemann Hertz icon, anyhow, they always put, they always use music as part of the social programming, social engineering. Oh yeah, his mother's name was Nancy Lou Clark. Unexpectedly, she died unexpectedly at 2:44 p.m. on January 2nd. So that's a lot of ones and twos and 201s there. Breonna Burns wrote the story, and her anagram could be by arson burn. But Trent's group, his 9-inch nails, which I think is interesting because it just goes into the whole crucifix kind of symbolism. It's hand or head, significant, resonance, Oscars, 9-inch nails, half human, which we're going to be dealing with that real soon, if not already. Super Bowl and locomotion. There's your railroad thing and your Sprint, how they were part of the railroads. And remember, Rai Savvy was the RR, data communications and wireless technology analysis. I'm jumping again, sorry, but I'm going to add this personal communications service. We're going to add this into the database just so it's there. That's our rainbow currency and directed energy weapons equivalent.